great day to you. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgianni for your show. Debbie and I are along for the ride Monday through Friday at this time with an encore of the show at midnight Eastern Time. And I guess the folks at EWTN, Debbie, see something of value in the program because they put a best of on Saturday. So
That's true. I never thought of it
we've tricked
like
them into thinking there are some good shows.
Well, you know, I look forward to this show so very much, Jerry, because we get to hear from the wise wisdom and experiences of our listeners who call in and participate. And it's a caller-driven show. And I learn something new every single time we do this show. And so I'm kind of glad we have the best of, because we highlight that one show that kind of gets the most feedback and emails and stuff like that and comments. And it's kind of nice to hear it again on Saturdays. So, yeah, I'm grateful to EWTN for doing that. I think it's a wonderful addition to Take Two.
Kind of different for you and me. I always find it odd listening to me on shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on live so many times, have thousands of times in my life, but every time I listen to a taping of a show of mine, it's always kind of weird sitting there listening to that. But hey,
Right.
You all didn't tune in to hear me and Debbie muse about things like this. You tuned in, and hopefully, muse. Debbie, hopefully you and I are going to gain a ton of wisdom today from the wisdom our listeners have learned from
our moms and our grandmothers. So we're asking today, what really incredible, profound statements have your mothers or grandmothers imparted to you? And maybe you heard them so many times. Maybe grandma used to come over and visit, and she would say something over and over again. And you'd say, oh, grandma, come on. We've heard that a million times. But guess what? It ended up being true in your life, or maybe you experienced it later on like I did. And I actually said to myself, where did I hear that before? Oh my goodness, my mother used to say that all the time. So we want to hear those just incredible words of wisdom from your moms or your grandmothers today on the show. So if you could call in and maybe impart to us what they had to say, and maybe if you felt it came true in your life, or maybe, you thought, well, I don't know why they ever said this. It's just not relevant for today. We want to hear that as well. Here's the number, 833-288-3986. That's the number to call to be on the show, but hurry to the phones. Don't wait till the last minute, because Jerry and I it's one of the things that we just cannot stomach, and that is leaving folks on the line. And it seems like we do that every single time we do the show. So please hurry to the phones, 833-288-3986.
And we're going to give equal time to dads and grandfathers, too. On June 6th, we're going to ask you to call in and share a bit of wisdom that you learned from your dad or your grandfather. But today, it's something that you picked up from your mom or your grandmother, and that you have found that useful in your life and maybe passed it on to your kids. 833-288-3986. What's that old saying, Debbie? It's amazing how much my parents learned from the time I was 21 until the time I was 40 or 50. We think we kind of don't. Sometimes we don't think we need the wisdom of our elders and our parents. And then as life goes on, Debbie, those things that they share with us, those pearls of wisdom, those maxims, those principles to live by, they come back and they have so much more meaning. So, dear friends, what is something that has really maybe changed your life in this regard?
Okay, Jerry. So you got to go up first. How about your mom? Miss Dorothy, what did she have to say? Anything profound that she imparted to you as a child?
I've shared on the show before, and this is not what I want to share on this episode, but she used to say, kids are to be seen and not heard. I've mentioned that before. But she always used to say, if you have one true friend in your life, you're lucky. And of course, when you're 14, you've got a million friends, quote unquote. And now today with social media, kids have thousands of followers. So
Sure.
it really was an incomprehensible statement that my mother made. And I would have to say I have many more than one good true friend in this world. But what she said, it has really taken on meaning for me, because you find out who your friends are, through the thick and the thin of life. So that's what my mom used to say. If you have one true friend in your life, you're lucky. What about you?
My mother used to say that too, actually, and that's I find that very interesting, because your mom was so right about that, because it's interesting as you get older, you find out who the ones who are going to really stick with you through thick and thin, and that's really interesting. My mom, I shared this yesterday. My mom has always said this, and I used to just I would bristle when she'd say it. I'd say, Mom, would you stop saying it? That just sounds so gloom and doom. She would say, I'm telling you, you wait long enough, you live long enough, and everything comes full circle. You're going to see every single thing that you did wrong on this earth if you live long enough. And I said, Mom, please stop saying that. It's so depressing. But she's right. Because I'm living long enough. I crossed 50 and I started to look back and I started to see the things and I'm like, oh my goodness, my mother was correct. And I guess it's true. You live life, you experience it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you get to reap what you sow and stuff like that. And so I'll tell you what, it's interesting. But my mother, 87 years, she's lived a long life, raised 6 kids. And, she definitely had that life experience and wisdom within her, and she was free to impart it to us. We didn't always accept it, but I think that's what's wonderful about moms and grandmoms. They will impart it, and if we reject it, we reject it. But you know what? It almost ultimately comes true.
Right. Okay, several ways you can join the conversation. The phone number is toll-free 1-833-288-3986. You can also use text messages. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a small little sound of noise, and then leave your first name and your comment or your question. And just make sure your phone has text messaging, or there might be a little data rate there. We're also streaming live video on YouTube and Facebook, and we're on iHeartRadio and Sirius XM 130 and the EWTN app. So Debbie, nobody in the world has an excuse to not listen to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Very true. 833-288-3986. That's the number to be on the show. And phone lines are filling up. So thank you for hurrying to the phones, folks, and sharing the wisdom from your mothers and grandmothers. We want to hear that today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is your show. So when we come back, we're going right to the phones.
Father John Riccardo.
When you and I wake up every day, do we strive to know Jesus or not? Quick question to you and me right now. Is that what you and I are doing every single day?
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
CNA is the only fast, reliable, and free Catholic news source that brings blogs, stories, and opinions to your fingertips. The latest Catholic news is at CatholicNewsAgency.com, an online service from EWTN News.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The first commandment, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no strange gods before me. In this commandment, God seeks to protect us from false claims to our worship and obedience. And there's a great sad history of people who have trusted in gods other than him or things other than him, and the ruin that it has caused. So God is trying to protect us and call us to an absolute trust and obedience of him. He asks us to trust him above all things and above all other people or so-called gods. We have to also avoid things like consulting horoscopes, palm reading, clairvoyance, recourse to mediums, any desire to try to control things apart from God. God simply says, trust me, I'm the Lord your God. I am the first commandment. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no strange gods before me.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Good to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN. Thanks to you, the listeners, for driving the show, affiliates for carrying the program, and of course our show team, everyone at EWTN, including the fantastic three of Rich, Matt, and Jeff, who are hands-on the show each and every day. And Debbie and I are ready to go to your phone calls about some wise thing that your mother or grandmother imparted to you, or required of you, or just helped to make you a better person. Yes, Debbie?
Yeah, and just so that we don't get emails saying, we cut out all the dads and grandfathers, it's still the month of May, so we're choosing to focus on mothers and grandmothers. In June, like Jerry said, we're going to be doing the dads and the grandfathers and their wisdom. So we always give equal time. So the first step is Dorothy how appropriate. We were just talking about your mom, Dorothy, Jerry. Dorothy in Denver, Colorado on Denver Catholic Radio. Hi, Dorothy. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call this morning.
Sure thing.
My mom's words of wisdom were she always told us, there but for the grace of God go I, as she handed money to a homeless person that was asking for it, or food in the car, or whatever she had. They were raising 5 kids back in the day, and she always did it. Now there's 4 generations of us that do the same. We give to as many people as we can, down to my great nieces. So I appreciate those words from my mom.
Wow. Tell you what, Dorothy, as Debbie said, my mother's name was Dorothy. You got a beautiful name, but that was something else that my mom used to say as well. I mentioned at the start of the show that she used to say, if you have one true friend in life, you're lucky. But that was something, a mantra, too, that she used to say. And I'm not sure, in fact, I am sure that I didn't appreciate what that meant. But now I do. And Debbie, you probably heard that. Yeah, I imagine your mom said the same thing.
Oh yeah. So what? Let's explore that a little more. So your mom is raising a large family. Probably is scrimping and saving to make sure that she keeps food on the table, meets up with a homeless person, and she could be in that position, but for God's mercy and grace, if you will, she's not, and so she wants to always remember the importance of that. Correct, Dorothy? Is that the best way to describe that statement?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a great reminder and it's a great practice to do that, because sometimes we look at those that are less fortunate, or those that have been, are suffering much more than we are, and we say, oh my goodness, I don't want to be like that. Wow, let me keep that far away from me. But no, your mother encountered, and your mother related to, because your mother was grateful that she was given maybe a different path. It may not have been it may not have been easier than the homeless person, believe it or not, because raising a big family can be very, very difficult. It's just a different path, and so we recognize what God gives us and the journey that we're on. So I think it's very interesting. Your mom's an incredible woman. What is her name? Is she still with us, Dorothy?
I'm sorry?
Is your mom still with us?
Oh, she is. She's 83 years old. She has a fractured femur, and so we had to put her into a living care facility for now until we can get her healed up. And her name is Irene.
Irene. Okay. We're going to put her in the book. What a beautiful woman. Tell her we love her, please.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Dorothy. Appreciate that. Yeah. Debbie, more and more.
And Jerry, do you know what your mom's name means?
What her maiden? I'm sorry?
No, do you know what your mom means? The name Dorothy?
Oh, gosh. You know what? I did know. You got to help me here, Dorothy.
Gift of God.
Gift of God. That she was, and that you are, Dorothy. You've got a beautiful spirit, and sounds like your mom is a real blessing in your life. Thank you for reminding me of that. Thank you so very, very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, Debbie, just the other day, I was driving along and literally saw, and unfortunately you see people on the streets, and they look so much older than they are, just because they're weather beaten and down and out and pushing a shopping cart, and this man looked like he was in about his 30s, just filthy, and he was out on his back, passed out or knocked out, and I was driving, so all I could do was pray, but you think about that, but God,
that could be us.
Why is it him and not me?
Right.
If that doesn't make gratitude well up within us, I don't know what will. So.
Well, and it's like when you first of all, I just wanted to say something. See, I don't believe in accidents, Jerry. We were talking beautifully about the wisdom of your mom, Dorothy, and Dorothy was the first one to call in. So I believe that your mom has a little special wink and kiss on the cheek for you, Jerry, today. I feel that very strongly. So see, it's interesting how God works. But going back to what you just said, Jerry, it reminds me of when you see these gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching commercials on TV for children's hospitals of children that have cancer. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, Lord, why? These children are so innocent. They have a whole life in front of them, and they are facing things that are so incredibly difficult. And why can I jump out of bed and get in my car and race down the street and go to work? And you're thinking that all the time. And so I understand exactly that. And I think that Dorothy's mom's words of wisdom are very important for us to always keep first and foremost in our minds and hearts and thoughts when we are encountering others who are suffering so greatly. So yeah, I'm glad Dorothy was the first up to really help us to and remind us of what's really important.
We're going to go from Denver to Boston, listening on the Station of the Cross, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We welcome Ricardo to the program. Hi, Ricardo. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. Very interesting conversation, absolutely, and made me think right away about my grandma, Josefina. And, I remember growing up, once in a while she would tell me that you should remember that I'm no better than anybody, but that no one is better than me. And over the years, I've realized how that kept me grounded, right? How I pushed myself to continue my studies, getting to the level where I'm at, and getting a career. But all along, being able to treat everybody as if we were the same, because in the eyes of God, we are all the same. And that's something that not only she would tell me, but it's something also that I was blessed by witnessing in many ways, including my mom. By the way, I prayed for her
Your line is cutting, Ricardo, but I think we got a lot to go with there, Debbie. Do you want to offer something first?
Yeah, with his grandmother Josefina, I have to say that is just beautiful, because when you just said that no one is better than you're not better than anyone, and no one is better than you. And that is so true. We are adopted sons and daughters of God, and we are created in the image and likeness of God. And it's important for us to remember that we may excel in things above other people, but that doesn't make us better. And our souls are just incredible, and they are so important for us to remember when we're encountering others, that we're encountering another soul, a soul that is in this human body. And it's an incredible feeling when you do that. I love what your grandmother had to say, Ricardo. I think it's very, very wise, and again, another thing that we need to remember constantly.
Yeah, and I think it points out two extremes that we need to avoid. I think we have a lot of people in the world today, Debbie, who put on an air of being superior or better than others, and that's probably out of insecurity, within themselves, or whatever it is, pride, insecurity. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there's the movement that we have hopefully launched with Stand Tall, and we have a lot of people in the world today who are just beaten down by others and by their mistakes and their sins, and emotional wounds and all of this stuff, and feel like they're not worth anything. So we got to avoid those two extremes. And I really love what Ricardo said, that his grandmother imparted to him. You're not any better than anybody, but don't let anybody walk on you. All right? Mm-hmm. They're not better than you.
Right.
And so I think that just is right on the money.
Yeah. Well, we were made for greatness, and that's very important to remember. But we are all in this together. We're the body of Christ, and that's also very, very important to remember as well. So great words from your grandmother, Ricardo. Thank you so much for that wonderful call. Jerry?
Okay, back to your calls on wisdom you learned from your mom or your grandmother. Jean in Northern Virginia has Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hello, Jean.
Hello, can you hear me?
I could a little faint. If you can get right up to your phone, we'll hear you better.
Okay, is that better?
That is much better, Jean. Bless you.
I turned the phone around, and there we go. Okay. My mother, when I started playing the piano at 7 and took lessons until I was about 16. And I went through phases where I really didn't want to practice. And she would say, if I let you quit when you're grown up, you're going to say, why didn't you make me? And, of course, as a kid, oh, no, I won't. But anyhow, she was adamant. And I'm 76 now. I've been playing for church for decades. And I moved to this area, and I'm in a massive parish, over 18,000 people, and one of the masses didn't even have a piano player, just a guitar. So anyhow, here's what I want to say. I am so grateful. Playing the piano has been probably one of my chief joys, maintained my sanity, and served God's people for years. But here's the thing. I might not have called you if I hadn't just talked to a mother friend of mine a couple days ago and had occasion to say that in the conversation. And she said that's exactly what her grown daughter said. Why did you not make me? And my friend said, I just got tired of putting up with it. If they really didn't want to do it, I wasn't going to fight it anymore. And I can't even tell you over the decades how many parents have said that to me. And so I just thought this is a chance to tell the listener, don't give in to your child. They don't know what's good for them. Okay.
Well,
that's my point.
Jean. So your mom's name has she left this earth?
Oh my gosh, yes, 1976.
Okay, your mom's name? Can we add her to the book? Your first name?
Her name is Peggy, and I would really appreciate any prayers for her. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say your mom, Peggy, is amazing. That is the one regret that I have my entire life. I was pretty good at piano at a young age. My mother took me, I actually took piano lessons from the nuns at the convent, and it was kind of scary because they had an infirmary right next to the convent, and there were a lot of nuns that were sick and they had cancer and stuff like that. And I was actually frightened as a small child because my mother would leave me off at the convent, and I'd walk through these dark halls, and there was people that were not feeling well and sick, and so I got really scared. And I would come home every day, and I said, "Mom, I'm telling you this right now. If you have me continue to go to these piano lessons, I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving." And I kept saying that over and over and over and over again. My mother got worn down and she let me quit. And it's the biggest regret because I loved piano. So I hear what you're saying, and I wish my mother stayed strong. But, it was an unfortunate thing because I was taking lessons at the convent and I was a little kid, and so I was frightened. So my mother was trying to weigh that. She didn't want me to have all these insecurities and fears. But I agree with you, Jean. I wish I had continued on with piano, and God bless you for continuing on. Peggy was a smart woman, and look at what you're doing in ministry, in the music ministry. You are helping souls to pray twice when they are singing along with the beautiful music at the liturgies. So thank you for the great ministry work you're doing, and that was inspired by your mom, Peggy.
Thank you for appreciating it, and that you're another case. I've heard so many, so thanks. I'm glad to get to share it.
Well, keep glorifying God and edifying souls, Jean, with your playing at church and elsewhere. Thank you for your phone call on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. It just reminds me, too, of it's not always words, Debbie, how we're blessed and inspired by our parents, our moms and grandmothers. And I may have shared on the show, our mother raised us pretty much by herself. And she, with 5 kids, I don't think she didn't push us into anything, but I don't think she missed a game or a play or some important event. And even, God rest her soul, even when I enrolled in broadcasting school, it was about 150 miles from where we lived, and I had an apartment there for the first, X number of months. Then my money was running low, and I realized that there were 2 guys from about 30 miles from where we lived who were driving the other 120 miles each way every day for about the final month, and we arranged for me to ride with them. So I, in essence, had about a 300-mile commute every weekday for the period of about a month. My mother would get up about 4:30 in the morning and drive me the 30 miles to their house. I'd ride with them the rest of the way, and she'd come in the afternoon and get me again. I mean, you talk about, again, dedication. She wasn't pushing me, but she was so dedicated to my success. And that's what Jean's mom was doing. She saw something in Jean that Jean may not have wanted at first, but she saw a gift, and she was very dedicated to that. And now look at the fruit, Debbie. Over the decades, Jean said decades, she's been doing this. So
well, yeah, I mean, an incredible ministry work she's doing, using it for the glory of God. That just gave me such incredible feeling of Holy Spirit inspired by starting with Peggy and then working through Jean. And wow, I'm glad Jean called in and shared it with all of us, because maybe it'll let other parents realize that when their children have these great gifts that could be used for the glory of God, to continue to be dedicated to them like your mom was, Jerry. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and I'm sure you experience the same thing, and others do as well. We've got a break coming up here in just a second, so we will pause momentarily. And Nina in North Texas, we have a room for you on the show. We've got Caroline and Tim and Jim and Cynthia, and an open phone line at 833 288-3986. Debbie, we said at the start of the show we were going to gain a lot of wisdom on this program, and I know we're not even halfway through, and we already have.
Oh, I know. It still reminds me. I mean, I did pull out my keyboards. I have started again. Did I tell you that? I have started to play again. Yeah, I started again, but I don't know. You know, Jerry, I'm over 50 now. It's tough. It's tough to learn a new thing. It's tough to learn a new language or an instrument or something. It's really tough, but I'm working at it.
It's doable. It's
doable. Yes. It might take me, 30 years. I can play at my own funeral.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's that beautiful music. So we're going to hit the pause button when we come back. We do have full phone lines, folks, and that's great. That means you have a lot to say about your mothers and your grandmothers and the wisdom they imparted to you. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. When we come back to the phones we shall go.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
Hello, this is Janet Morena of Priests for Life with Pro-Life Update. In the first chapter of Luke, we read, "When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice she exclaimed, 'Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear.' This is a marvelous encounter of the two unborn children, one of whom was the Lord, and the other the one who would announce him to the world. Both of them had been specially announced and named by angels who appeared to their parents. Clearly, God gives us a calling before our birth, and is the one who prepares us for that calling. He has a relationship with children in the womb and became one himself. Why then should we be afraid to defend them and speak up for them?" This is Janet Morena on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
EWTN, communicating the faith.
I feel that God has been really doing a work in me in the last 5-10 years. I'm a convert to Catholicism, and I started to just really feel a passion to know more about the Catholic faith, and I started listening to Catholic radio all day. I'm not doing great things, but I'm doing small things with great love.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, Jimmy Aiken and Father John Trigilio join us for 2 hours of open forum. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on most of these EWTN radio stations. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
And another great EWTN offering is Pro-Life Weekly with Catherine Hadro. It's Sunday morning at 10 Eastern Time. And every single week, Catherine and her team of pro-life experts shine the light of truth on the most important issues of our day: abortion, euthanasia, assisted suicide, the entire culture of death. So catch Pro-Life Weekly with Catherine Hadro, Sunday mornings at 10 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio. Okay, Deb, where are we going next on the phones?
As promised, Nina in North Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Nina. Thanks for waiting, and welcome to Take Two.
Hi, Nina.
Thank you, Jerry and Debbie. I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, I think my mother sounds much like Ricardo's grandmother. Very lovely lady. She was a mother of 9, and everyone loved her, and she loved everyone. But one of my favorite sayings, and every time I say it, people love it as well, so I thought I would offer it up to you guys. So she always said, "There's so much good in the worst of us, and there's so much bad in the best of us, that it behooves neither of us to talk about the rest of us."
Wow. And this, and this was from, did you say your mom or your grandmother, Nina?
Yes, my mother. Yes.
Your mother.
She sounds like she was like Ricardo's grandmother is what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And is your mom's first name? Can you give it to us?
Please, yes. She is deceased. Her name was Eileen, Eileen.
Okay. And can you say that one more time? Because I was taking notes and I
Sure.
couldn't finish. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. There's so much good in the worst of us, and there's so much bad in the best of us that it behooves neither of us to talk about the rest of us.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Everyone
are
always
words-
enjoys that.
Yeah, and you have to. Thank you for saying it slowly, Nina, because Debbie talks about the age factor here. I've got her by a few years, and the first time you said it, I thought, wow, that sounds pretty profound. I wonder, and then I'm glad you read it again and slowly. And those are words to live by. That would help us, Debbie, I think, approach, like you always say, Debbie, it's another soul. You know, we're approaching people, another soul, want to respect their dignity. And yeah, it really was, I think, in many ways, similar to what Ricardo's grandmother imparted to him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you think about that. If we lived, Nina, by your mom Eileen's words, we would have such a much kinder world, you know, because we're constantly, we look for that problem in somebody else and we highlight that. And boy, oh boy, do we take that to we just crucify them, and it's so sad because we all have that ability to be like that. And we can all relate because we that's just part of our human nature. And your mom, Eileen, knew that. She recognized that. And she wanted her children to be really kind, the golden rule. And I think that is, wow, that's very powerful. Your mom was a special woman, Nina.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Wow, great stuff, Debbie. This show is going in a fantastic direction. No surprise, because of you, the listeners, you always take the steering wheel and make it a great ride during this hour of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Caroline, Caroline, I think, in Northwest Ohio, is going to join us next here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Caroline, welcome.
Blessings to you both.
And to
I
you.
have two comments that stuck by me through the years. My grandmother told me, climb though the rocks be rugged. My great-grandmother's favorite saying was, and she imparted it to all her great-grandchildren, keep your mouth and your tongue, it keepeth your soul from trouble.
Nice.
Yeah, could you repeat both of them? I didn't quite catch the first one, but could you just, again, share both of those with us, please?
Grandmother said, climb though the rocks be rugged. And great-grandmother said, keep your mouth and your tongue, it keepeth your soul from trouble.
Okay.
I think that was Proverbs. I'm not sure.
It might be. It sounds, that second one sounds very, very biblical. And I know the book of James, Debbie, talks a lot about the power of the tongue as well. And yeah, boy, the good or the bad that we can do with our tongues. I was reflecting on that the other day.
There's power in words.
With regard to I was reflecting on it with regard to myself, and I'm just going to convict myself here. Some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth, that same mouth that others praises for the eternal Son of God, and I think, wow, what a contradiction sometimes. But
yeah.
And it doesn't take any energy to give somebody a compliment. So it's much nicer, I think, to give compliments than criticize, too.
Right.
But
Caroline?
there was a lot of wisdom in both my grandmother and my great-grandmother.
Yeah. Can you give us your grandmother and your great-grandmother's first name? We're entering everybody today into our prayer book that's kind of ahead of tomorrow's show. So we'd love their first names.
Grandmother Martha, great-grandmother Louise.
Louise. Okay. Beautiful. Well, you were blessed. You had a grandmother and a great-grandmother just with wise words to live by. I love it. Thank you so much.
Blessings to you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline.
Deb, do you mind if I go to email for just a second?
Yeah, can you believe that? Look how many comments are coming in. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Colleen sent this email in. Hello, Jerry and Debbie. My mom always said marriage is forever It is not always happily ever after. You have to work on it every day of your life. I was engaged 3 times before I actually married my husband, John. We have been married over 30 years now with 9 wonderful children, 7 daughters and 2 sons. We've had many struggles early on, but because I waited and married the man I did, I prayed hard for him and offered all the suffering to God. My husband converted to the Catholic faith 6 years into the marriage, and it was life-changing for our family. I tell my husband weekly, sometimes daily, I'm so glad it's you. And she says, I'm so grateful I didn't marry either of the other 2 men. I just kept thinking of my mom's words and knew they were not right for me. My husband is a strong father and blesses our children with wisdom that I just don't have. Thank you, Colleen,
Wow.
for sharing that. Isn't that powerful?
Colleen, that is huge. That needs to be put in marriage preparation books. Seriously.
No,
Colleen's
you're
story.
Right.
What? No, I'm serious.
You're right. No,
because-
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of young folks, when they get married, they think that first person that I'm, madly in love with, that's the one. But you know what? Those words are very powerful. Marriage is forever. Yeah. Wow. I just want to share real quickly, YouTube, Shannon weighed in. She said, my grandmother tells me to cherish every moment. I love that. Cherish every moment. So that's another good one. I tell you, we got some great ones, and phone lines again are full. Who's up next? Who do we have?
Up next is Tim.
Is it Tim? Okay.
Yeah, Tim in Findlay, Ohio. Yeah, our good friend Tim, watching on Facebook Live. Hey, Tim, how are you, brother?
Hey, not too bad. Also Northwest Ohio, so,
Oh, cool.
Hi, Tim.
So what wisdom did you get from your mom or grandma?
Mine is not words of wisdom, but what example my mom did. Because, child of divorce, my mom made a lot of sacrifices for us, and that taught me, growing up, to have a total respect for women. As I was told once, I learned to appreciate women. But
Because you saw that in your mom making the sacrifices.
Yeah, making the sacrifice she did for us, for my grandmother, who was bedridden, because it was her and us 4 kids that took care of her. So.
Wow. Well, I know, I believe don't we have your mom in our book? I believe we do, but can I'm just making notes for the book for tomorrow, actually, because tomorrow is who or what are we praying?
She went by Connie, but her real name is Concepcion.
That's right, Connie. That's right. And then how about your grandmother? What was her name?
Grandmother is spelled Erasta, Erasta.
Erasta. Oh, I love it. Beautiful, Tim. Well, you know what, Tim? I have to say something, what you just said. I just want to say this to all the moms out there. When we have our children, it becomes just part of our being that we will do whatever it takes to protect and to nurture and to care for our children and we want them to have a better life than we had. And it becomes just really part of us. But I will tell you that when you recognize it, Tim, like you have done as a grown adult, when you recognize what your mother has done, the sacrifices she made, it warms all of our hearts. Because it's kind of like a pat on all of our backs saying, you know what, it was worth it. People have noticed. And so thank you for doing that. I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the moms out there. I'm sure we're all probably smiling saying, yay, kudos to moms.
Anything else, Tim?
No, that's about it, And, God bless both of you guys, You guys,
always great.
Like I said, I enjoy.
Yeah. Always good to hear from you, Tim, either on the show or when you email us. You are a very wise man yourself.
Yes.
And you've got a lot of great gifts that you're sharing with the world. Just had an email from, it doesn't say the name of the person, but she says there's a little bit of good in the worst of us, a little bit of bad in the rest of us, and it doesn't behoove any of us to talk about the rest of us. She was quoting that because one of our callers just said that. And this emailer says, I just heard someone call in with this, and my grandmother said it very similarly, smiley face. So
Wow. How cool is that? Very cool. Thanks again, Tim. We appreciate that call. Okay, so do we have time? Jim in North Dakota on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Jim. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
My mother had a couple of pieces of advice. One, she'd always tell us if somebody would end up stealing something that we really wanted, she would just tell us that they must have needed it more than we did. Hello?
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one to swallow for me, Jim. I have to tell you.
Yeah,
especially when you're young.
Especially when it's something significant. But and then her greatest piece of advice to me ever was probably that whenever anytime you're praying, struggling, she said, pray to Mary, because Mary is her son, and a son always wants to please his mother, and of course any son knows that. So, but yeah, she was a wise woman.
That is wise, very wise. Can you give us your mom's first name?
Her name was Caroline.
Caroline. Okay, beautiful. And we had a call from Caroline. Okay, so Jim, I agree with Caroline that, this idea that if someone were to steal something, they probably needed it more. Like I said, that's a hard one for me to swallow, because growing up where I grew up in New Jersey, we probably would have chased them down and got it back. So that's a real lesson on really being charitable and kind to someone who hurts you. So Caroline was a wise woman, and I love that about praying to Mary. Absolutely, a son wants to please his mother, so I agree with that, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, time to get you on the program at 833-288-3986, talking about wisdom that you gain from your mom or your grandmother during your life that maybe has helped to shape the way you've lived, choices that you have made, maybe that you have passed on to other generations. And again, on June 6th, we're giving equal time to wisdom we gain from our dads and grandfathers. So be aware of that show coming up as well. But please do join us here, as Cynthia has done in San Antonio, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on Guadalupe Radio. Hello, Cynthia. Happy day to you.
Hello. Hi. How are you, Jerry and Debbie? I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We love you.
Thank you. All about love. God is love. My mom, she always showed love to all unconditionally and always forgave. My dad died 2 years ago, and they were married over 50 years. And especially the lowly and the excluded and the most difficult people, she would say, love and kill with kindness. And her group of friends, they were the most down-to-earth and the most difficult people that no one wanted as a friend. While all of her other friends would say, what are you doing hanging around with them? They're so mean and they're so this and so that. And she would say, everyone needs a friend. So indirectly, she spoke very loudly with her actions. That told me love conquers all.
Yeah.
And then my grandma,
go ahead.
Which is her mom. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that, Jerry?
Well, you were going to share about your grandmother as well, but just real quickly while we're on your mom and what she used to do, that is really profound. That shows a real empathy, a real maturity, and a knowledge of the need to recognize the dignity of other people. And this is something that's lacking in so many people. It's not necessarily, doesn't really come natural to us. I'm wondering if you have any sense of where your mother learned to approach people that way.
Mm-hmm. No, but I know that her parents got divorced when she was very, very young, and she was the only girl, and wasn't really let out of the house and was made to go to church. And, she would walk to church. So I would just say the teachings of the church and her humble, growing up. I don't know.
Well, she learned compassion through her life experience.
Yeah.
Cynthia, your mom's name, and then you were going to talk about your grandmother. Your mom's name, first name?
Helen Sierra.
Helen. And then your grandmother's name?
Virginia Gongarash. May she rest in peace.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, you were blessed. You're blessed with a beautiful mom and grandmother to impart to you such beautiful compassion and kindness. Wow, it's incredible. You wanted to share about your grandmother. Did she have something profound that you wanted to share?
Yeah, she couldn't read, and she spoke mainly Spanish, and she couldn't speak English. But when we would say, see you later, Grandma, she would reply always. She would always say, si Dios quiere. So from Spanish to English, that translates to if God wills it. So it just kind of reminds me of the wisdom of Padre Pio. God can take our very next breath. He's in control and of every moment, of every breath. So if God wills it, that was her, si Dios quiere. And she was saying that, God's in control. And she had a grotto with the Virgen de Guadalupe in her front yard with a light in it. And with that, I now see that with her action of having the Virgin Mary in her front yard, she was saying, our Mama Mary will lead us to her Son, that he is our light. So I clearly understand that now.
Wow.
Wow. I know.
You are the beneficiary, the recipient, Cynthia, of so much good wisdom and more than that, holy example. And, of course, the phrase that comes to mind, actions speak louder than words. And we've heard more than one caller today, like you, Cynthia, share that it wasn't so much something that your mother or grandmother said, but it was just the way they lived their lives. And we learn so much from people by observing them and their kindness and their love. So thank you, Cynthia, for joining us. We do appreciate that very much. Have a beautiful day. Mary Therese, you're going to be next, but I want to remind people, we talk about the EWTN Religious Catalog, which may be, I'm not certain of this, but it may be the largest selection of religious books and CDs and DVDs and statuary and jewelry and medals and all kinds of stuff on the planet. And it's available online, but there's also, for some years now, they've had the TV show, EWTN Religious Catalog on EWTN Television, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Fridays, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Just flip on your television there, and you will see the great deals on some of those items that you really either want for yourself or you want to give as a gift to somebody else.
It is so cool. It's like the Home Shopping Network, or QVC of Catholic world.
Exactly. For your faith stuff.
For your faith stuff. I love it. Okay, Mary Therese, you've been waiting so patiently in Erie, Pennsylvania on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Mary Therese. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi.
Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
Great.
I just wanted to say that both my grandmother and my mother taught us all to live one day at a time, and when that gets difficult, we should just live a few hours at a time. And when that's difficult, you just live moment by moment and trust in God. And I know that my grandmother taught my mother this and her other brothers and sisters. There was 14 of them that were left. At 49 years of age, my grandmother was a widow and had 14 children to raise. And that's what she told the children, to live one day at a time. And I know that my mom, she just passed away a few weeks ago at the age of 98. And that's what she does.
Wow. Oh, Mary Therese, I'm so sorry. We're so sorry for your loss, but we would absolutely be so honored to enter your grandmother's first name and your mom's that just passed away, her name in the book as well. Could you impart that to us?
Sure. My mom's name is Jane, and my grandmother's name was Ida Mary. And I just have to share that my grandmother, who raised those 14 children on her own, ended up raising a priest and a nun of the 14.
Wow.
So,
blessed be
praise
God.
be to God. Yeah. Well,
they
Mary,
were taught to go to church every single day. My mom went to church every day her entire life.
Oh, well, Jane is, we'll remember her deeply in prayer, and our hearts go out to you because, 98 years she graced this earth. But you know what? When we lose the ones we love who have made such a huge impact on our lives, it's hard. So our hearts are with you. We're sending you some virtual, real strong hugs to you, Mary Therese. So please know that. But I just wanted to say real quickly, thank you for sharing it. You were the perfect call to finish out this show, because Jerry and I are firm believers in Christian life skills. And one of the things we share with everybody is to celebrate the small victories of our day-to-day lives, because sometimes our lives are so difficult. And what you shared with your grandmother and your mother, saying take one day at a time, and then 1 hour at a time if that gets too hard, and then 1 second at a time, that is so true, because we are called just to put one step in front of the other with the faith and trust in God, and just keep moving forward. However big or however small we do it, just keep moving. It's kind of like that Nemo, what is it? The Nemo movie, just keep swimming, right? And it's so true. And so thank you for sharing that with us. It's a great reminder for all of us to adopt on a daily basis. Jerry?
Mary Therese, I don't know if you're familiar with the book. It goes by 2 titles that I've heard. One is Abandonment to Divine Providence, but it also goes under the title The Sacrament of the Present Moment. And it was written by a spiritual master, Jean-Pierre de Caussade. And the whole gist of it is that God is present every moment of every day. It's kind of like a mini sacrament, because it's an encounter with God. Mary Therese, I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
No, I'm not. I'll have to make sure I look at that up. Thank you.
Yeah, The Sacrament of the Present Moment, or I think it's also published under Abandonment to Divine Providence. But it's definitely, I'm looking at it right now online, The Sacrament of the Present Moment.
Beautiful.
So, that.
Well,
yeah,
Jerry,
go
you
ahead,
just
Deb.
crack me up. Okay, so you give a book like The Sacrament of the Present Moment, and I reference Nemo. So what does that tell us about Take Two?
I guess it tells us we got the whole gamut covered.
That's right. That's right.
Mary Therese, did you have something to say about that?
No, that's adorable. I think you both do a great job.
Bless you. It's good to hear you laugh, Mary Therese. You have a beautiful, beautiful, joyful laugh. We love it. Call anytime. We'll put you at the top of the line.
Thanks, Mary Therese. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Boy, Debbie, we took a lot of names for the prayer book today, and what a great lead into tomorrow. We're going to have our monthly Whom Are You Praying For? And that's always a very, very poignant and I think an important program.
Yeah. The first live broadcast of every month, we dedicated it for 2018, and it's who or what are you praying for? And we just want you to call in and share why these intentions. You would like all of us to stand together like we do as a wonderful Take Two family and pray together and storm heaven for your intentions. And so tomorrow's show is going to be very, very active. You can also weigh in by emailing us or texting us or however you want to do it to reach us. Email is take2, 2 at EWTN.com. Also, there's Twitter. Jerry, we're on Twitter at Take Two Show. All sorts of ways that you can leave your prayer intentions.
Yeah, including, don't forget, we don't mention this often enough, Debbie, I don't think, but the prayer wall on our website, Jerry and Debbie, A-N-D spelled out, Jerry and Debbie, I-E at the end of Debbie's name, jerryanddebbie.com. We have up at the top, you can click on what we call the prayer wall. And I think, Debbie, by now, over the past 2 or 3 years, we have thousands of people who have posted prayers. Debbie and I do go on there. It's not maybe hourly, maybe not daily, but hopefully within a day or two, we get on there. And we just post our recognition and acknowledgement of your prayer intentions. So don't ever be bashful about going to jerryanddebbie.com and posting on the prayer wall.
Right, absolutely. And also, we're getting a lot of Facebook posts and a lot of texts coming in about words of wisdom from your moms and your grandmothers. We're reading them. We may even recite some of those on future shows. So thank you so much for your participation today. It really helps us to grow. I hope you were a little bit changed, got a little bit closer to God from all the words of wisdom, the pearls of wisdom you heard from moms and grandmothers today.
Well, our regular, dear, beloved correspondent, Vangie, said on Facebook, her mother used to say, you only have one life, one chance. And so let's remember that. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day.